Hey friends, today I want to talk to you about what happens when we as mothers burn out on life in general. And that can look like any number of things. It can look like difficulty making decisions. It can look like totally not wanting to cook dinner or clean anything or take care of any of our responsibilities. It might even look like wanting to send our children somewhere, just thinking that if we could get some breathing space, we would be okay. And the problem with that is that actually you could do all those things. You could quit cooking, you could put your kids in public school or send them to daycare or have somebody else take care of them. You could spend all day hanging out in your bedroom or going to the spa or doing, retreat type activities and still not be okay. And the reason that is because burnout on life goes much, much deeper. Now, yes, there can absolutely be a component of depression in there, and I'm not going to discount that in any way, shape, or form. And I'm also not going to give advice on how to handle depression in general. I'm not a doctor, I'm just a mom who burned out on life about 4 years ago. And part of the reason that that happened was because for about 15 to 20 years, I had been running at a breakneck speed through my life. I had a lot of kids. I still have a lot of kids, but I had a lot of kids. I was cooking 3 meals a day. My husband had a lot of travel plans, and he's kind of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy. And I can be, but then I think that kind of drains me too because I like to have some plans in place, and he doesn't. And so that was real difficult for me because I was trying to manage, a household and then also trying to do things that he wanted to do at the timing that he wanted. And I wasn't being very vocal either, or at least not very clear about what was going on with me and the things that were stressing me. I may have been complaining here and there, maybe more than here and there, but I was never actually expressing to him without being, majorly complaining or arguing or whatever. I wasn't expressing to him exactly what I needed and exactly how difficult things had become for me. Another thing that burned me out was the meals. So I'm cooking 3 times a day, and on top of that, I'm trying to figure out what to feed my family. I'm trying to feed them a healthy, balanced diet. And, there's always new studies and surveys and blog posts and articles on the news that come out about what you should and should not be eating. And it was mind boggling to me. I think the average mom is a researcher at heart. We want the best for our family, and in order to get that best, we tend to research and research and research ourselves into the ground. Our foremothers didn't do that because they didn't have that kind of research at their fingertips. Now, they did have other family members and friends and things like that who would bring input into their lives, good or bad, but they did not have millions of voices on the internet speaking to them and speaking into their lives and telling them what they should and should not do. So for the most part, our foremothers just did what their mothers did, and on back through the ages, and they just fed the same meals, and they made their homemaking skills, in the same order, the same schedule. Everything was pretty much the same as it had been for millennia. Well, now in the information age, we have so much information at our fingertips that we tend to just get bogged down by it. Rather than it actually helping us, it does the exact opposite and makes it more difficult for us to act. So as far as the meals go, what I ended up doing was creating a meal list of meals that my family loved, and I didn't even pay attention to the calorie content or what was in it. I just asked them what meals they loved, and then we voted on them, and if they all got yes votes, they went on a sheet of paper. I have a blog post about that, and I also have a podcast about that, and I'll probably do a video at some point on that topic. But what I did was I ended up creating this list of meals that I could easily pull from so that I wasn't expending any brain power trying to get a menu plan. And that was exactly what I needed at that point in my life. I also found that I needed a lot of downtime throughout my day. I'm an introvert, and while I don't want to use that as a crutch, it is good to understand yourself. And so, knowing that I'm an introvert, I also know that people drain me. Now, I love being around people, but in order to not be drained all the time, especially in a large family household, I needed to take some breaks. Now, this wasn't like running away, I'm going to the spa, I'm leaving the kids, because remember, we talked about in the beginning that doesn't actually fix anything. What it is that I try to do is never let myself get so empty I have nothing left. So I try to live a very rich life. In the Charlotte Mason world, it's called mother culture. It took me a long time to understand what that term meant, but it's something that has come very naturally to me once I understood it more, because I used to be a very intellectual person. I enjoyed reading, I enjoyed writing, I still do a lot of writing, but I noticed I wasn't doing as much reading. I wasn't doing as much singing anymore. I wasn't trying to broaden my horizons beyond the scope of reading self-help books, mostly homeschool related, or blog posts on organizing or something like that. That is not mother culture. That is just self-help, more of the same noise. And yes, you can glean some great things from those, but you need to have a life that your children can see is more than just immersing yourself in, how to stack the school books so, they don't fall over. That's not mother culture. That's not creating an abundant living life. And so you want to have a lifestyle that continually fills your tank and fills your family's tank at the same time, so that you never run empty and feel like you need to run out to the spa. You are living a very rich life. The last thing I found to be very imperative to creating a world that was not just full of burnout, where my life was just not always feeling like it was snowballing and catapulting out of control, was to make sure that I had margin and white space in my day, but that I wasn't trying to fill that white space on top of everything. You need to have wiggle room. You need to have room for things to go wrong, room to just breathe, room to sit back and watch your children and watch the things around you, smile at them, enjoy the life that you're living. And the problem that so many moms run into is that we try to fill all those white spaces. We're constantly looking for where can we fit one more thing into the day. I've even seen that myself in this past week with homeschooling. For instance, I just keep trying to add things into our homeschool, and I'm seeing my kids' eyes glaze over, and I'm starting to get tired of reading, and I'm thinking, wait a second, too many things. I had more white space than this, and I just filled it to the brim. And instead, I should have stopped at the place where I knew that I had plenty there, and then I had some margin. I should have stopped there, and I should not have filled that margin. That margin needs to stay open. It's not a place for you to put projects. It is a place for you to breathe. So while I can't exactly give you an abundant life, and I can't tell you do these 5 things and suddenly you're going to feel like your whole world is opening up and you're feeling wonderful and amazing, that's not where I'm headed with this. What I really wanted to give you was, first of all, some understanding of what happens and how we end up in that place. And then also some tools to get you started thinking in the right direction. In so many instances, when we have allowed things to snowball out of control, we get into these thought patterns, and it's over and over and over, and we forget that we have the ability to think outside of what those thought patterns are, but it's hard work and it's hard to change those thought patterns. And when you are feeling burned out and tired, and everywhere you look around you, your life just feels like it's crumbling, it's very difficult to praise the Lord in those moments, or to say, okay, this is just temporary. I can get through this, because probably you have pulled yourself up by your bootstraps about 1,000,000 times and your arms are tired. And so it's important that you pull back a little bit. You start living a richer life that has margin and white space in it. You live a mother culture life. You bring some things into your world that are beautiful and calm. Even amidst the chaos, you need to have a few things that are beautiful and calm, because that's who we are as women. And God created us that way, and it is okay to need a little bit of time and a little bit of white space in there to enjoy a rich life. And then also try to put some systems into place that take care of some of those things that are stressors, like I mentioned, the meal plan. Try to figure out what some of your biggest stressors are. For me, it was meals, but it might be laundry for you. It might even be homeschooling for you. And I'll talk in another session a little bit more about how to create a homeschool day that's not so stressful, one that gives you a little bit more leniency to pull back from life for just a little bit. That's kind of those transitional times when you just need a little bit of a break and you need to make sure that you're not headed down the burnout path. So my admonition to you today is to go find something that you can do that adds to that richness of life. It may just be picking up a book. It may be sitting down at the piano and playing something or singing. It may even be going outside and sketching something or writing in your journal. Something that is calm and beautiful and contributes to a rich life that is not a burned out life.